So now that we're all here,
Yes.
let's get it popping. So, um, welcome to Women Living Intentionally. My name is Renee, as I previously stated, and then we have,
Tish.
and with us tonight, we have Kortni Boyd and Melissa Jones Clarke. We will be talking about self-care in our relaxed state, just loving everybody's look right now. It's like, okay, you got somebody in the corner meditating. We got the blue going on, maybe. We got Tish all dolled up. So we're gonna have a good chat tonight. So again, let's get to it.
I am Melissa Jones Clarke, or MJC. To keep it real, I am a wife of 23 years and a mom to a graduate of Agnes Scott College with her Bachelor's of Science in Neuroscience, and a soon-to-be senior in high school young man who is in the top 2% of his class.
Nice.
My husband is a teacher. He is also a man of community service and a man of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Okay.
We have family in town. We are still celebrating this accomplishment and happy that she is a first generation grad, and her brother will not have to say that when he goes to school because she's paved the way. I am here and so gracious to be invited into this space about self-care and the journey and how that really looks through the eyes of the Black woman. And I know our journeys are all different, but I think that we are like these beautiful creatives. So I'm interested in learning tonight from you all, and I'm just excited to be here. So thank you.
Hello, all. So grateful to be in the presence of you beautiful goddess creatures out promoting self-care, what is so necessary, especially during such a difficult past year for many. So I want to extend a heartfelt gratitude for inviting me to be here during this conversation. I'm so excited. I needed this moment. We needed this moment. I can feel we all needed a moment just to exchange ideas and fellowship. So I just want to say thank you first and foremost.
Thank you.
But I am Kortni Boyd. I am a mother of 4 beautiful children. I've been very fortunate. God has trusted me to raise these humans. And my eldest son is a senior at Morehouse College. He is studying engineering, and he has a minor. I believe his minor is math. I may get all of the lingo wrong because this wine is pretty good. and your girl ate celery, carrots, and a lime for breakfast.
Understood.
So you're feeling it.
And I took a run. And that's why we have the dew.
It is what it is.
And then I am here to be with you beautiful women. And we're going to make it do what it do. But Reginald, my eldest child, Reginald is a senior at Morehouse College. My second son, his name is Gray, like the color, Grey. Gray is a student at the University of Miami, and he is learning all about finance. So he'll be able to help mommy make and save a lot of money. And then I started all over. I have 2 sets of children. My eldest are in college. Then I have 2 small children, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. My 5-year-old is Nolan. My 3-year-old is Olive, like the color again. Okay. And I was a school teacher for 17 years. My certification is in gifted ed, but I've worked with children of all the rainbow. I've worked with children that are special needs, autistic children. I've worked with every demographic you can imagine. I've worked in all of the counties, pretty much in the city of Atlanta, the metropolitan area. I have. I've traveled a lot and I've learned a lot. So, but since COVID, I decided to stay home with my children. And I've been very blessed and very fortunate to stay home with my little ones and practice self-care. And I'm so happy that I had a routine of self-care prior to the pandemic, because once the tragedy hit, it was too late to really scramble and try to figure things out. So I'm very grateful that I already had a self-care routine in place that I've been practicing for many, many years. And so tonight we will have a good conversation about self-care.
Renee and Tish, Kortni is super, 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 super humble. She is an amazing educator. I know this through two lenses. She taught our 21-year-old when she was 9 years old in fourth grade. Kortni taught her about self-agency, self-worth, and self-love in her little bitty mind, but you could not tell her that she was not the princess in that classroom. I also know that Kortni is extremely brilliant when it comes to reaching any and every child, regardless of zip code, because I was her principal. I'm a former principal, K-8 school leader, really pre-K through 8. I was a principal for over 20 years, and I've opened 2 schools, charter schools, but my principalships range from Chicago, Illinois to Walton County, Georgia, to Southwest Atlanta, to Lafayette, Louisiana. So I am blessed through that lens to know Kortni's work, and she is all of that. So she's also a teacher of self-care. I mean, to start that practice with my 9-year-old, I mean,
that's awesome.
Amazing. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, sis.
That's good. That's really good. It sounds like, Kortni, this is not happenstance for you. This is something that you are very intentional about. So I appreciate you, Melissa, sharing that, because Kortni, listen, the cat is out the bag.
It's absolutely out the bag. And I just want to talk about, so you say you were already prepared, before COVID, you had already gotten to the routine. Could you go through your routine just to tell us like what you were doing previously and what you've been doing since COVID, if anything has changed or,
Ooh. Okay, where should I start? Okay, the way that I describe it is that, first of all, I take ownership in my self-care. I take complete ownership. By that, I mean, I don't compromise, and I do not ask others for permission, if that makes sense. So we are all surrounded by a support system. That may be your husband, it may be your sister, your parents, whomever, but we all have a community and a network of support. And for me, I don't wait for anyone to give me permission to practice self-care. So my routine is based on my self-awareness. I feel like I'm in tune with who I am and what I need. And so I'll say, before I tell you the routine, I'll say that your routine should be specific and it should be individualized, because you have to know yourself and know what you need and know what buttons to push to make you do what you do best. Right. And so for me, self-care, I know that self-care means that I know what I need. I need consistency. I need structure. I thrive best when I have peace and I have quality influence. So for me, I start the day, of course, with prayer. Before I check my email, before I start a conversation, even with my small children, I start the day with a conversation between myself and God, giving thanks. So that's very, very important to me, is prayer, my prayer life. Secondly, I start with yoga. After that, some stretching is very important. And it's not just to look sexy. Some folks, I see that new trend, and because I'm more mature now, so years have passed, we all growing up. But I've noticed that on social media, the trend is to get sexy, do yoga so you can stretch and do all the flips. But for me, yoga is more so about the breathing. It's more so about centering yourself and becoming quiet so that you can hear what's happening and you can become present and in the moment. So I practice yoga. And then, of course, my diet is very important. So that's something that I've always paid attention to. I eat with, I'm intentional about what I eat and what I allow to come into my body. And like I said, all of these things I've been doing it prior to the pandemic. So my diet is important. And then also I do some cardio throughout the day. And then, and then I meditate throughout the day. So these are things that I've always incorporated and just sprinkled throughout the day. Self-care for me is not just a one-time event. It's something that you just do throughout the day. You sprinkle a little bit here and there, and I don't get overwhelmed and feel like, okay, at this specific time on this specific day is when I practice self-care. Self-care is a lifestyle. It's the way that I live my life.
That's very interesting that you say that, because a lot of people think that, you know, when you say self-care is one moment, or it might be on a Saturday or on a Friday, you know, when you're available, and not going through each and every day being like, okay, self-care is not just about this one particular day, but I need to take care of myself throughout the week, because if you don't take care of yourself throughout the week, how are you gonna make it to the weekend? Right. So that was very insightful on that perspective of how you view self-care. What about you, Melissa? How do you view self-care?
So Kortni knows I'm old school, which is why we remain to be sisters. And I think my journey with self-care began with my grandmothers. And they taught me that self-care happens when you have self-love, and self-love happens as an act that gets consistent and full over deliberate action. So you can't get to self-care if you are not deliberately and consistently loving yourself. And in order to do that, you have to sit with yourself and understand whose you are and who you are. And open up your heart. And if you have to open up your heart chakra through downward dog or the bridge pose or camel pose, do that. And they just taught me the more you pour into yourself, the easier it is to move in love. And so that journey as a little girl, I would say, would be inconsistent as I became a woman and in college. And, you know, whenever I had time, I would think about it. And especially when I got married and had children, it definitely went on the back burner. And so I found myself resentful, like they were living their lives and happy and checking their lists and dishes done, meals cooked, laundry done. And I'm like, but where is my energy? Depleted. So I remember sharing these feelings with my doctor, and he said, until you begin to prioritize yourself, and it's okay to do so, give yourself permission, it won't happen. And so I remember making a decision several years ago, like, forget the one and done massages, forget the one and done mani-pedis. Girl, this is like Kortni said, it's a lifestyle. It's the way you move. It's the way you live, and love your strengths and appreciate your opportunities for improvement. And we're in a constant state of becoming and unbecoming, and there's power in that. So I definitely agree that self-care is a lifestyle. I do start the morning with meditation and prayer before my feet hit the floor. I have some room temperature water with some lemon in it by my bedside to get our organs moving. And I agree with, it's like confetti sprinkled throughout the day, but you have got to calendarize it as a priority. Whether it's playing your favorite music while you make up your bed, or walking in place and loosening your joints as you brush your teeth, whatever you need to do, you do that. And it's definitely on an individual basis. You know, what may work for someone else may not work for you. You just have to start with sitting with yourself and really getting comfortable with you and figuring out what does self-care look like to me, and how am I going to sustain that over time. So that's just a little bit of me.
Tish, you got anything to add over there?
Girl, you know I do.
I see you writing. I see you writing.
Look, I'm so intrigued. I'm sitting here listening to both Kortni and Melissa, and I'm thinking what I got from the both of you, although it was different, it was somewhat similar.
Mm-hmm.
For one, Kortni, you mentioned you take ownership. Mm-hmm. And Kortni and Melissa mentioned that what may work for someone else may not work for you. So what I appreciate in hearing from the both of you is you took time out for self-discovery. Mm-hmm. To understand what self-care looked like for you. And I think I appreciate from you, Melissa, you said, hey, there were some things that I noticed in my own life. Hey, my kids, my husband, my family, everybody was satisfied. And then when it came to yourself, you were depleted. And so it was enough concern for you to not just stay where you are and feeling that depletion, but it was so much so that it was important for you to go and say, hey, doctor, I'm feeling this way. And so then he gave you permission to be okay with you and finding what works for your self-care. And so I greatly appreciate the conversation. Listen, I feel like I don't know. I just feel like this needs to be a conversation beyond this time that we have right now. And hopefully by hearing from the both of you, how intentional you are. And I think people need to understand, hey, you are responsible for you. And it's not just, self-care is just not on the exterior. It's also what's inside. And I think what we do inside, Kortni, you were very specific. You say, hey, it goes from what I do in the morning, with the start of prayer for you and Melissa, with the start of prayer. I move throughout my day, and these things are consistent in my life. It is not a fad. It is not a fashion. This is something that I take very seriously because I appreciate me. And I think when we learn to appreciate ourselves, then other people will learn to appreciate us. But we do have to start with ourselves. So I appreciate the self-love that you all are generating right now, because I am so feeling it. I'm like all in.
Yeah, I'm still here reevaluating my life for real. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I need to up my self-care game or something, like, because like, you don't think about, I speak for myself, like, didn't think about, everybody says self-care, self-love, blah, blah, blah. Like, you hear it, but to actually practice is a whole different ballgame. So, going back to Melissa, you said, cooking and cleaning and being mom, being wife, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. So it's very insightful hearing this stuff, because, you don't realize that you get stuck in a rut sometimes. You get in the habit of just doing, and now you're robotic. Everything is just like routine. Wake up, do this, go to bed. Then you're right back up at it the next day, and you forgot to take care of yourself in between time. So that's very insightful that, in my head, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm about to go get my hair done the weekend. I'm about to, get my nails done, to get a massage. And like, okay, but maybe self-care isn't about spending the money. It's bigger than that. And I think that's where people lose it. I think people attribute self-care to spending dollars. And so when you think like that, I think that's probably why people don't practice it as much, because they associate that with a dollar. So, I mean, I don't know what you all's take on that. I mean,